All right, welcome back to another Just Wondering podcast. Me and Will sitting down to talk about stuff. Tonight, we're gonna keep rolling with this shorter episode gig. I think it works
good.
well, works better for us,
Keeps
works
us
better.
focused.
Yeah, works better for all of our friends that watch it. You know, all of them. And so yeah, tonight we're going to talk about mentorship, what it is, how it can help, what it can impact your future, and then also what it can do for you if you yourself are a mentor, which I don't know about you. I had a little bit of experience doing it when I was like a 8th grader on some 7th graders, so not
Okay.
really. But also, like, I feel like every day you're hanging out with someone younger than you or impacting them in some way, like that's a form of mentorship. What do you think?
No, I think so. I think it can be people younger than you as well as people as same age as you. But no, I think you're right on when you said that you're mentoring the people you're around. I think your actions, a lot of what you do is like they look at that and be like, okay. They look at that, they take that notice, and they're like, I need to do that more of that. I need to do, and I think that's what mentorship kind of is. It's like you're mentoring these guys and telling them how to live like a good life, and we can get a little bit deeper in that. But like, the main thing is what you're doing. You're not only telling them, you're showing it. You're going out and doing the actions as well, and like showing them how to do it.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
I agree with you. I think that like mentorship is, yes, of course your life is definitely a story, but then like mentorship comes alongside that and says, okay, I'm going to be intentional with you and I want to see your life improved, and I want to have a positive influence on you, but also just like making another person's life your priority.
Yeah.
You know? And it's kind of a lot to take under, but like also there's like smaller levels of it, you know?
Right, yeah.
There's like a high level commitment where you're like constantly checking in on this person, spending time with them. But then there's, a taking back level where it's just like weekly or whatever.
No, that's so true. I think yeah, it's something good to talk about because like that just made me think of like I think there are people that yeah, they can go take people out to dinner sometimes and take them out to lunch and like hey, kind of mentor them, but not like always there for them.
Yeah.
But like just calling in every now and then like us, we'll get into here in a second. But like us, we have somebody that really cares for us and takes really good care of us, and he shows how we should live a good life, and I think that's really powerful. So if you want to get into it a little bit of how it has impacted us,
Yeah.
and you want to
Yeah,
jump into
sure.
that?
So I have always had like I feel like never maybe not always a certain like person I would name my mentor, but there's always been godly men who are first of all they have families, they're loved and they're very loving themselves, but also they are successful and have taught me in ways of not only just like Christ-like examples, but
Yeah.
also just an example of how to be successful and to have a good life or whatever. But so in high school, a lot I had several guys that were very influential towards me in my youth group. There was about 4 or 5 of them that were they would always taking us out. We had accountability groups where we got up in the mornings and stuff multiple times a week at church.
Yeah.
And it was one of the greatest things I had in high school, and I thank God for it because by the grace of God, I was able to stay out of stupid stuff, namely like drinking and smoking, whatever. But I think that a lot of it had to do with that constant influence of these guys and the influence that they had on several other guys, so that we were all able to encourage each other as a whole.
Right. I think yeah, same for me. High school was like, I think for me, I like didn't have like the person I'd call like a mentor in high school. I mean, we had this like GSM, whatever, and you'd go and you get into separate groups, like freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. And I didn't really take it seriously until junior, senior year because you mature a little bit and you actually open up a little bit
Right,
more.
vulnerability.
Yeah, exactly. And there was a couple of guys that were older than us, who led worship or whatever. And they would be in charge of the senior group. We became great buds, and we open up, and it was really great. But I don't think it was like super powerful because in high school it was not the greatest time, or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think someone special who we both know and like who's involved in our lives now is Brandon Bratloff, and he's we meet weekly every Wednesday, and he's very, very powerful in our lives.
Right. Yeah.
You know.
I think we have this guy Brandon now, and he's an older guy and he has more experience than us. That's the number one factor in a mentor. Like, yes, you can definitely mentor people your own age, but it's rare to have that much more experience than another person when you're the same age. So he has more experience than us because he's gone through more and he's lived more life, you know. And then two, he's more mature than us. That also mostly comes with age.
Yeah.
But also he has had more time to walk with the Lord and more time to see what this life is about, you know.
Right. Yeah.
And so I think it comes a lot with experience and wisdom, and which he offers a lot of. And that has impacted us huge, I know already.
Yeah.
And just the weekly group is great, but also we obviously we hang out with him when he hangs out with us more than just that. But also I think we have, like, he leads Boathouse, so he's setting an example for us there, because he's not, like we said earlier, he's not only just leading us individually, but he's also setting that example for us and everyone,
Yeah, no, for sure. I think for me, it's impacted like me huge. Like, first time I met Brandon, I was pretty I wasn't following the Lord that well, and then when I met Brandon, he like did like a 180 on my life, and like totally like changed it, and I've never been closer to the Lord because of him. And like he said, because he has so much wisdom and knowledge of like how to live a life that's meaningful to God. And I mean, it's just been great. Like what I like about our group is like he takes us 8 guys or whatever, and it's a small group, and we all get to open up really well because we trust Brandon. He's great, and he like when we talk to him, we know we're gonna get the feedback that we need, or maybe not what we need, but like what we. What I'm saying?
Well, not even always what we want, but truly what we need to hear.
That's what I'm saying. And I think that's so powerful because sometimes we're too scared to, like, we don't want to hear that, but like he just tells it straight, which is so cool. And I think that's what we need sometimes in life.
Yeah,
it's pretty powerful.
I agree. I think one of the biggest things about being a mentor is being able to call someone out, because it's hard to sometimes because you don't want to come across as judgmental. But that's where it's important to be like, look, bro, like, I was there or I am there. And to establish that, common ground and be like, we got to work on this.
Exactly.
And that's a hard thing to do. Confrontation, no one likes it. I mean, some people like it. Like, sometimes I do because I'm crazy.
Yeah.
But that's one of the most important things, is to have the ability to confront someone when they're doing wrong, because that's what being a mentor is all about.
Right. And I think when you do confront them, you can't be scared as a mentor. If they like turn away, you have to pursue them and make sure that they don't, you're saying it out of love and because you love them and make sure they understand. But you want to make sure that you can pursue them and you're not afraid to, go out on a limb and try to make them understand, because some people, when they get that criticism, they can just turn away.
Yeah, and run.
And then the mentors they don't, you have to have that, mentors have to have that effort to go. I think in our group, we're blessed to have Brandon who does, definitely.
Yeah, it's like, it's a good example of God chasing after us even when we're doing stupid things. Right. And I think, that's so important, because we're prone to make bad decisions. And so a mentor has to, obviously stick with us, but just like follow us out through those and make sure that like they're trying to keep up. Because, I mean, it's so easy to be like, well, so-and-so hasn't texted me back, so I guess that's just over and we're done with that relationship. But it's not about that. It's like, even if I feel like it's been easy in the past for me to be like, oh, well, this person's not responding to me, so I'm just done reaching out, because it hurts your pride. But, you can't worry about your pride whenever your concern should be the other person, not your pride, because it's easy to get that hurt whenever you're giving everything for someone and they just don't want anything.
Exactly. Yeah. I think leading into our next question, like what it's done, we kind of answered that, but like what it can do, like for us or for you.
I think what it can do is obviously keep you out of bad situations where you could get into a lot of trouble. So, I mean, obviously I would use like the most easy example is, maybe partying, getting drunk. There's nothing wrong with drinking, I guess, if you're of age, but
Yeah.
I don't choose to do it anyway. I'm not 21 anyway, but I think that's the easiest thing is just like it can influence you in a way that you don't want to go out to stuff like that and realize that that's not what you need to have fun. And so that in turn, I mean, I can't tell you how many kids I knew in high school that got MIPs because of stuff like that. And like MIPs might get off your record at some point, but there's also kids I knew that got DWIs, and like a DWI can screw your career up. And so you're looking at, at first going through a couple parties, you're not seeing any harm done, but in the future there will be problems. And I mean, I still know people that haven't been able to grow up and grow out of that, and that has caused struggle upon struggle in their life, their career. And so I think that's one practical example is even just being influenced to stay out of the party atmosphere and stay out of getting drunk, that can influence your entire life, and that just came from a mentor.
Right. No, yeah, you're totally right. And I think we were talking about this last week, on Wednesday about accountability and how accountability, I don't think we said it can't be forced.
Right.
Like you have to build up that trust of where, like it's just gonna be there, And I think that comes with like knowing your mentor and trusting him and really understanding that. But I think that's a very powerful thing. Like if you're like when we're getting mentored, I think it's really powerful because without like having that person in our life, we wouldn't have that accountability. It wouldn't we just like do whatever we want or whatever.
Right.
But and we would think we would have to force the accountability on each other, which would scare each other, But in a way, it's just kind of doing it on its own, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so how much do you think it has to do with, we have a mentor. Mentors are great, but how much bigger of a step is it to have a group with a mentor at the head?
Oh, yeah. I think it's even like double, like the fold,
Yes.
Whatever that saying is.
I don't know.
Double the fold. I don't know. Anyway. But I think a one-on-one, yes, it's powerful and that can do a lot of things. But I think in our group, from our personal experiences, like you're in a group and you're hearing different viewpoints on some of the stuff you may be struggling with or some of the stuff that you are tempted by, and you get to hear the feedback from your mentor as well from others who have maybe great insight,
Yeah.
And I think it's great to just bounce back from everybody. I think it's just so powerful. Like you go in there and it's amazing. Like you come out learning new stuff and knowing like what to do now. Like once I get tempted by this, I know what to do. You know? And I just think it's more powerful than, I think a one-on-one is great. And like, I think a one-on-one, when you're in a group or whatever, we talked about this, like not always going to a mentor, but going to the other person in a group. Because now like, oh, you have the same issue as me, or you have the same problem as me, or whatever, and you can go to them and talk to them, and that's what starts this accountability thing.
Yeah.
And so I just think a group is like it's just 10 times better.
Yeah, I do think it's so much more impactful, and I think the impact of vulnerability is insane. And so many men, obviously it's so hard for men to be vulnerable. It's hard for anybody to be. But to just open up to what's hurting you and what you're struggling with, even if that's not like something in your walk with Christ, but anything in life. And I think it's been ingrained into us to just not talk about our problems sometimes, and that's so detrimental to your life. You can't walk around carrying your burdens alone. And so, it's great to be able to cast it off onto a mentor.
Right.
But how much easier is it for the mentor to carry it if 7 other guys can carry it with him?
Exactly.
And so, I think that having a group is that much more impactful because you're not just answering to one guy, you're answering to many. And, I think exactly what you're saying, like so many viewpoints coming in, and you're able to truly, like you can filter through them and decide and find what what works for you. And I think it's mutually beneficial whenever we're able to talk about our problems and find ways to get past them. And then like that filters into not only just having a good walk with the Lord, but also just having a good life, like a life that can lead to contentment and just love and kindness, because you're able to overcome problems and you can talk about problems. I think one of the just skills that is not looked at as high as others is being able to talk about your problems.
Right. Yeah.
Like that's huge.
Yeah.
And that people talk about problem solving as an ability, as a skill, but what about just getting them out in the open,
Yeah.
where people can see them?
No, for sure. I think like you were saying, when you have a one-on-one, your mentor may like say something to you that works for him, but it may not work for you.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're in a group, there's so many more opinions and viewpoints, and you might find something that works very good for you, and like your mentor might have something that works for him, but not for you, and now you have something that works for you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I can also see the negatives of that. Like some people like going into a group and be like, "Oh, there's a lot of people. I'm not ready to like open up with this." Like a one-on-one's great because I can just tell one guy and get that off my shoulders.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I can see it from that viewpoint.
Yeah. What about maybe let's walk away so much from the mentor, from the more discipler, I would say. What about an actual like maybe a mentor in your career? What do you think that like someone who has, maybe you go work for like your dad's friend's firm or something. Like, what do you think that kind of impact could be? I mean, these are just practical, but like, what kind of impact do you think that
For like
it could have on you?
a career?
Yeah, like
perspective?
in your career.
Oh yeah, I think they in like a career perspective, they could have they could teach you a lot of things, and if that's not like your main job you want to do, you could still learn how like a business works and how everything runs and how like you're working for him and how he is in control of all of these people. Because when you're in a business and you're the boss, you're in charge of a ton of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're looking at him and just learning from him. And I think it's important for that guy, whoever like mentoring or whatever, like the boss, whatever, to kind of take you under his wing and like show you how it's done. So one day you can go out and do the same.
Right. Yeah, and that's why I want to I think it's important to have, a mentor in every stage of life, but not only stage, just like every aspect, really.
Right.
So you have an accountability group over here, and someone's leading that, and then in your friend group or whatever, but also in your career, like it's important to have someone that can truly show you the ropes of what you're going to do, because the sad truth is that when you get to a job, you're not going to know what you're doing.
Exactly.
And someone's got to help you out, whether that's a coworker or a superior. Preferably a superior, because imagine you get in there and you make a good relationship with the boss, like good job, like you're going to be able to that's a network he's opened up to you, probably, because you're not only going to know him, you're going to probably get to know his friends. And so that opens up more career options for you. And then you're just also learning valuable skills that you don't learn in other places. And I think that's something that I didn't think about originally with a mentor, is that you're actually being taught. He or she, obviously we would have a male mentor, but he can teach you things that you didn't know and teach you skills that you didn't have. And I think that especially in a career setting, many people aren't aware, like many people don't have good communication skills and good networking skills. And I think that's one of the best things that your first mentor in your career can teach you. Because imagine, it's hard to learn those things in college. Like, you don't really learn about that. So coming out, getting your first job, and having a mentor that shows you how to properly network and communicate, and he might set you up for the rest of your career.
Right. No, I totally agree with that. I like that point of where you made about you need to have a mentor or somebody like in every aspect of your life. Yes, the accountability mentor is great, but that can only take you so far. That can only you can live like a great life and for God, but you also need a mentor in your work and your job. And like you were saying, a superior would be great. A coworker can only take you so far.
Right.
So having a superior, I totally agree with that. And that kind of leads into our next question of how can a mentor be impacted? as well, you know?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think being okay, so like I was a counselor at camp this past summer. I'm going to do it again. I'd always heard when I was at camp that you are more impacted as a counselor than you are as a camper. And I was always like I could see that. But then thinking, here I am going to camp last summer and I'm going to work with first through sixth graders. And I'm like, how am I going to be impacted by some elementary school kids?
Right, exactly.
And boy, was, like obviously I was an incredible amount. And like, obviously there's just easy lessons to learn, like, patience, duh. But just learning how to teach and organize and maintain, so thinking that can also transition into not only like leading people in the Lord, but like leading people in a career, like learning how to be able to lead people and organize your stuff. That's so hard to keep a group running, and especially when they're young. But I mean, adults can be like that too. Like we can be bonehead children, and so I think it's so important to realize that you can learn from anyone. And as a mentor, I was a counselor, so you could kind of view that as a mentor. Yeah, I was impacted a lot, and I learned a lot from those kids, not only just about the Lord, but about how to, lead a group and how to teach a group,
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think the question is like, can a mentor be impacted by the people he's mentoring? And totally, yes.
Yeah.
I think I think you've learned a lot from those kids, even though they're very like first graders or whatever. I think you don't know everything, so when you're in a group or whatever, or on one-on-one, you get these different viewpoints. You're like, oh, I didn't think about it that way. So you're definitely learning, and you're taking that into your own perspective and casting out to other people. And I think that's really special.
Yeah, I think.
I don't remember where I was going with that.
Yeah, sometimes it happens when you talk, but like it's just hard to talk sometimes.
Fine.
But anyway, I think that like whenever, like yes, obviously you can be impacted by them and learn so much from them, but it's really just it's about being willing to, because like you're saying, you don't know everything, like no one does, and it's so hard to come to that realization because I'm very arrogant.
Yeah.
And so I wish, yeah, I need to get shot down sometimes. But yeah, like I don't know everything. And so whenever you can have someone that you are mentoring clue you in on something, like that's huge.
Yeah.
And it's also huge for them to see that you're stepping down from, this leadership role and being like, dude, you're right. Like that's hard. And so I also think, like if you're mentoring maybe someone who's kind of troubled or has had a hard life, they can teach you a lot about like the struggles that you've never even seen and like experiences that you don't even think most people have to go through.
Right.
And so you can be like, oh my gosh, like it can open your eyes to so much more that's going on. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, I think that the point right there is like you can be like that hurts like super like prideful, of like stepping down and be like, dang, I didn't think about that, because you don't want to do that. Like your pride is like, oh my gosh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm right.
Yeah.
Being selfish, and I think that takes like a huge hit. It's like, whoa, I don't know if I should agree with that. I think like my point, I think you have to step down from your like soapbox or whatever and be like, yeah, dude, you're right. And
Yeah. I think it's huge. Yeah, I think it's huge.
Yeah.
Like the biggest step to being a mentor is really setting your pride aside and setting your needs aside. Obviously, you're going to set your needs aside to pursue theirs, but also to pursue them beyond your pride, even if they're not responding to your text, even if they're not answering your calls, still going after that person and finding them, even if they seem like they don't want to be around you.
Yeah.
But also just being willing to say, dang, like, you're right, and, like, you teach me too,
Yeah, I think a big example is like Fisher in our group. It's like 12 or
Yeah, we have a young guy, yeah.
young guy. But he speaks the Bible and like stuff like crazy. Like his age is insane. Like I wasn't speaking like that when I was his age.
Yeah, and at first I thought it was kind of weird that he was there, but it's really good for him and for us to see that. Yeah, so.
No, I think that's very cool. Kind of leading into the last question of here, like our future. What does it look like? Like, how does it impact our future and what we can do in the future? I guess with this.
Yeah, I think that it's impacted us. It's impacting us right now. It's keeping us making the right decisions, which will set us up for the future. But also, we should be becoming mentors ourselves, right? And so, like you're saying with Fisher, like I was gonna say is that he's a 12-year-old. We're 19, 18, 19, and Brandon's older than us, so he's teaching us, and we're teaching Fisher kind of. But also it goes all the way back up the chain, like we're saying. And so I think that part of being mentored is becoming a mentor,
Yeah, that's great said. Yeah. I think exactly what you're saying is like us being mentored is all leading up to us being a mentor and how we can get a group of guys or a one-on-one or find somebody that we could really help out and impact. Just as Christ did with his followers, and that's what we're put on this earth to do is
make disciples.
Make disciples.
Yes,
Make
sir.
disciples.
Stole your thunder there, but
It's fine. My point's gone.
yeah, my bad.
Yeah, we can wrap it up.
But yeah, for real
kidding.
though. I mean, we're here to make disciples, and so
Yeah.
it's about being discipled, and then it's just a tree.
It's a tree.
It started with Jesus, and then boom, boom, and it just keeps expanding.
Jazz hands.
So, yeah, mentorship leads into mentorship.
That's the main. I think that's the main point we got
Yeah,
to all of this.
it's a very healthy thing, and it can give you success in life, and it can, if you're a mentor, it can teach you how to have patience and humility.
Yeah.
Two very important things.
And you can how not to be prideful, because that's a big thing. I mean, that's if you want to be a mentor, you have to look at yourself and be like, dude, I'm not gonna be prideful.
Yeah.
There's gonna be times, but like you have to be like, I gotta step down.
Yeah. And that's a huge skill to have in the workplace, in your family, in the church, anywhere.
And will you get rid of it? No.
No.
It's always gonna be there. So
Just learning.
just learning.
It's all about learning.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, wrapping up this episode on
Episode
mentorship.
2, 3. I think we're calling this one 2.
Yeah, we'll call this one episode 2 because we're starting these shorter ones, and this is how we want it to
This
be.
is better. Like episode 00, audio was.
Yeah, not too good.
And then we had Josiah on. We're gonna cut that one from the channel.
Getting rid of it.
It is not good.
Yeah, and so now we have last week's was our first, and we kind of talked about the same kind of deal,
job.
dream job, and now we're talking about career field and how you could be influenced by a mentor. Yeah. And so
we might come up later, have a series of some stuff.
Yeah,
We'll do
we might
part
have a
1,
series.
Part 2s.
Yeah, and keep a chain going. So yeah.
That's it.
But thanks for listening. If you're listening, and this is what we're going to consider episode 2. So we'll see you next time.